Okay, so here we are with another Masters Universe Origins unboxing, and this is the Turtles of Grayskull Raphael Snake Hunter with a short fuse. Excuse me. This is from the Reptile Wars subline, in which the villains are Snake Men. And you know what I say? The Snake Men are cursed. It's anytime you see the Snake Men show up, it usually means it's going to be the end of the line, and this is no exception. This is the end of Turtles of Grayskull. They are coming towards the end of the line, and I'm at the end of my review of the four Ninja Turtle figures that I have this week. But it's not the end of my Turtles of Grayskull reviews because I still got a couple of more left to do. I've got Krang and I've got Mossman, and I've still got the evil mutant He-Man. So I think He-Man's probably going to be the next one that I do, and then I'll do a Mossman, and then I'll finish off with Krang. But we've got Raphael first of all, and I wasn't too impressed with the first Raphael because they made him into Ram Man, and I'm like, why would you make Raphael into Ram Man? Ram Man's stupid. Like, I don't mean he's a bad character for those of you out there who are Ram Man fans. Feel free to enjoy the character of Ram Man, but I mean, he's not a very intelligent person. And Raphael, like, while he has been depicted as hard-headed, and maybe that was the joke they were going for, he's never really been depicted as being unintelligent, and in fact, in most versions, is quite witty. So yeah, I felt like that just didn't work for me. But here, Raphael has been mashed up with He-Man himself, and it's not just any version of He-Man; it's He-Man in his snake armor, which I guess makes sense since they're going up against the Snake Men. Now, to be honest, I've never been a huge fan of the snake armor design on He-Man, but I think this improved on it in a few ways. And I'm going to get into all that when I open it up. First, let's have a look at the artwork on the back. And we have all these mutant flies attacking in the background. I guess they're created after Baxter. They do look kind of vaguely like Baxter in his fly form. And we've got him. Raphael is fighting a Foot Clan, which I believe that's the Foot Clan matched up with King Hiss. I don't know what the story is of that yet because I haven't got it yet. And Ninjor over here with in his just regular form, not mutated yet. This is just regular Ninjor, and it says Shredder may have slithered away once, but Raphael is not about to let him or any of the Snake Men slip through his sai again. And then it says Reptile Wars. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles scour Eternia for Shredder, but find themselves in the middle of King Hiss's plot to make the Snake Men the most powerful force in the universe. And then we got some cross-cell artwork with the new version of Donatello, the new version of Raphael, Ratlor in his mutated form, and Mechaneck, which looks like a really cool figure. Let's go ahead and open them up because I've been excited about this one for a while. I've been excited about opening up all the boys, and I've been saving them because I figured it'd be good to do them at the tail end of it. And they would have been the last ones if I hadn't have decided to get He-Man and I hadn't have caught those the Krang and Mossman figures I caught when they were on sale or on clearance or something like that. And here we got another comic book to read. It's been a while since we read one of these, hasn't it? It says when we last left our intrepid heroes, the Masters of the Universe and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles defeated Krang's mutant army. Some villains, however, managed to escape, namely Shredder. The Turtles could not return home, knowing that their arch nemesis lurks about on Eternia. They vow to remain until they capture the leader of the Foot. Meanwhile, slithering whispers of the Snake Men spread through the first planet. The Masters send their two best snake hunters, Mechaneck and Clampchamp, to investigate the dark stronghold, Snake Mountain. And there's our establishing shot of Snake Mountain with Clampchamp and Mechaneck down below. And Clampchamp says, It's quiet knowing the snake men. That's never a good sign. And Mechanic says, I'll scout ahead. Watch my back, Clamp Champ. And then, he gets attacked. And Clamp Champ grabs a hold of Mechanic and says, gotcha! But he winds up getting yanked up too. And then we see our heroes have been captured by Ratlore and some snake men and Foot Clan snake men. Well, look what fell into our nest. Ratlore, what hole did you crawl out of? One filled with ooze from the looks of things. And yeah, he is a mutated Ratlore. How perceptive, Mechanic. Even though it was Clamp Champ that was talking. Maybe all humans look alike to Ratlore. Excuse me. You will make a fine slave for King Hiss. Now hold still. This won't hurt much. It looks like he's about to bite him. And it says, man, is this guy having a hissy fit or what? I think it's Michelangelo, yeah. Get it? Snake? Hissy fit? Terrible, Mikey. Absolutely terrible. Will you guys learn to when will you guys learn? You lose with ooze. And then Donatello says, technically he loses when we kick his tail all over Eternia. The turtles! Seize them! And then Raphael says, you really think these foot goons got a problem, are a problem for us? And Michelangelo says, I don't remember the foot soldiers being so scaly. And then I guess it's Donatello says, yeah, which means either King Hiss is a secret ninjutsu master or the Snake Men are working with the Shredder. And then Ratlore says, so you know our new ally. His ooze made us more powerful, just as we bring power to him. And then looks the artwork is made for a larger comic, I think, and it always winds up looking so tiny on these pages, and it's hard for me to really tell what's going on a lot of the times. And Clamp Champ is attacking Ratlore, and it says, you know what they say about power and corruption. And then Leonardo says, yeah, the ooze has got both in spades. Good thing we have the cure. And then Clamp Champ says, Mechanic, Ratlore's mutated snake venom quickens through his veins. Ooh, quickens, that's a good word. So Mechanic is turning into a snake man. And Raphael says, I'm on it. And Raphael's got the snake claw, like it usually comes with the snake armor. And it says, again, I'm on it. Alongside He-Man, Donatello combined the power of Grayskull with Havoc-infused ooze and fused the concoction into anti-mutagen weapons, perfect for stopping mindless mutants in their tracks. And so you see he's like shooting some energy out of the snake claw, and it looks like turned Mechanic back into normal. And Raphael says, you good, bro? And Mechanic says, indeed, I owe you my life. And then Clamp Champ says, rather than hunting the snake men, we fell right into their trap. And then Michelangelo says, I guess your plan was a little snake bit. And Raphael says, awful. Just awful. Hondoku Productions is here. And Shawnee Ma is here also. And Hondoku Productions says, hey there, hope you are well, sir. What would be your dream figure to own? Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'll have to come back to that. Shawnee Ma says, hey, dude, right back at you. Good to see you. And then Houndoku Production says, I love the old TMNT and Batman toys from the 80s and 90s. They don't make them like that anymore. They sure don't. Like, I mean, they still make some cool stuff. And hell, they're going back to trying to make like retro figures, but honestly, like you know, McFarlane superpowers are cool. I like McFarlane superpowers, but they're not like the '80s superpowers. They're good, but they're just not on that level. And likewise, I did enjoy opening up those Spin Master Batman Forever figures. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that the Batman figure is a great figure, but while Robin's worth picking up, he wasn't as great as Batman, and the Two-Face and Riddler figures they did for that line are basically just inferior versions of the ones Kenner already did. So yeah, if you got the original ones, they're probably not worth picking up. Anyway, I better get back to my comic book. So then Leonardo says, "What is it, Donnie?" And Donatello says, "According to my readings, Rattlor and the foot soldiers appeared out of nowhere. There's no trail leading in and no sign of a secret entrance." And then Mechanic says, "Teleportation? Whether by magic or machine, that's intense power." And Leonardo says, "I think it's simpler than that. We're dealing with the foot. They deal in misdirection. Often their path is the simplest and most direct." And Raphael says, "Guess that means we're going up." And Michelangelo says, "You don't suppose they thought to build an elevator to the top?" And then Clampchamp says, "I do not." And legend has it that Snake Mountain is no mere evil fortress, but rather a god imprisoned. Long ago, Serpos, patron deity of the Snake Men, was defeated by the Elders of Eternia and trapped in the form of Snake Mountain. Through the stone, though frozen in stone, one can still feel the snake god's evil pulse throughout every inch of the stronghold. We don't have much left of this comic book. I hope things wrap up soon. I don't want it to be continued. And Mechanic says, "Clear." And Raphael says, "Nobody's home." And somebody, I think it's Clampchamp, says, "What is this place?" And I think it's Donatello says, "Is that what I think it is?" Okay, good. It was Donatello because Leonardo says, "It sure looks like it, Donnie. This one is different from the last." And oh, it's the ooze pit, not the slime pit, the ooze pit with the shredder helmet instead of the skull. An ooze pit. Gee, you think? It has the markings of Serpos all over it, but all this bears ill tiding. And then Michelangelo says, "I don't get Shredhead. First he's with Krang, but that's a bust. Then Skeletor, then Hordak. Lately, then Hordak literally blows up in his face. That's why he's teaming up. Why is he even teaming up with these snake dudes?" And then Shredder shows up. He looks a lot different from what we saw him last time. "An excellent question, especially considering it's coming from an imbecile. Shredder! Skeletor! Both, and yet neither." So he's combined with Skeletor somehow, which makes sense because Skeletor is supposed to be like a demon combined with Keldor. So I guess that now the demons combined with Shredder. Maybe they'll explain that in a future mini comic. I don't think they got much time left. And then Raphael says, "Well, whoever you are, prepare to eat it." And Michelangelo, of course, says, "Cowabunga!" And then Shredder Tor Skeletor, I don't know, whatever, says, "Not this time. First you shall bear witness, then you shall be my sacrifice." "Sacrifice for what?" "Serpos." And I guess that's King Hiss in the background. It looks like the King Hiss foot soldier figure anyway. And then Shredder says, "You see, Turtles, when Krang discovered this world, I felt a pull like never before. The most sacred power in the universe guarded me here. Ignorant fools, not just the power of Grayskull, the power of Havoc, which I now hold, and the power of Serpos." Arg! Empty the ooze pit. And we got CamoCon with his claws and everything. What the? Yeah, we know the power of Grayskull. Didn't we already beat you over this? This ain't good. Shredder, what are you doing? This is madness. He is too far gone, my friend. Let's see if I've got all this. Shredder merged with Skeletor, who has now been bitten by King Hiss, who is now drowned in mutagen. There are three There are 3 powers of Eternia which were never meant to combine within mortal man. Yeah. And then Raphael says, but that's never stopped Shredder from making a power grab before. Dude, it's squigging gross. And a snake skeller Shredder is breaking loose. And it says, it's not moving. It's hatching. Oh no, Shredder. Ha 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 ha. What have you done to yourself? Next, Reptile Wars Part 2, Blood of the Dragon. I knew it was going to be continued. And we got another comment from Shawnee Mont. Cowabunga, dudes! Indeed. So let's go ahead. Now that we've read the comic book, we can talk about the action figure. And this is another reason I thought this figure was superior. The previous Raphael is he actually comes with some proper psi. Now the previous one had these kind of psi swords, and if you saw my review on Tila, you've already seen those. But here we go. These are actual psi. You can see they did get a little warped in the package because they were held in by that rubber tab, and they were kind of layered over each other. So I'll have to try to straighten those out later. And then we have the snake claw, which looks like it's all molded in one piece of plastic, so this jaw is not hinged. But since it is kind of a pliable sort of plastic, you can still use it to clamp onto an evildoer and grab a hold of them. And especially if it's a snake man, like that's what it's actually designed for. And you can see it's got kind of a snaky look to it. It does have that 2000X feel to it. And now let's move on to Raphael himself, who, despite what partners in crime told us, is not the leader of the group, but he was transformed from the norm by the nuclear goop. So they were right about that. Apparently, from what I understand, like when they wrote that rap, they weren't like overly familiar with the characters, and they were basically just given kind of a plot synopsis of the movie, and they just kind of assumed, because of the emphasis on the character, that Raphael was the leader of the group. But nothing could be further from the truth. We all know Leonardo leads. Donatello does machines. Raphael is cool but rude, and Michelangelo is a party dude. So that is how that works. And I don't care who tries to tell you that Raphael was the leader. He wasn't. All right. So one thing that I don't like about this figure is that we can see that he has the do-rag, which I don't really like Raphael having the do-rag. That's one of those Michael Bay-isms, and I don't really care for that. So it's like it's not quite as bad, I think, as Donatello with the nerd glasses, but I still am not a fan of the. I'm still not a fan of the do-rag. Shawnee Ma says, "I think Raph is everyone's favorite. He's so badass." Well, he's certainly my favorite. So yeah, it's he's been my favorite since I read the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all those years ago. Yes, I go all the way back to those black and white comics. That's where I first became a fan of the characters. And Leonardo was the one I felt like got the most character development in that first issue, which makes sense because he's the leader. But Raphael, I kind of felt like, while he didn't get quite as much in terms of the volume of his character development, what he got made him seem to me like a very interesting character. And he had like a little bit more of an edge, even in a version where the Turtles just in general had more of an edge. And he seemed like the one that was, even from the beginning, the one who was kind of not quite as accepting of their lot in life as the rest of the boys. So yeah, I kind of took to that. Shawnee Ma says, "Rude, crude, big chicken dude." Yeah. All right. So one thing that I noticed about him immediately is that he has a different shell from the other boys, and that you can tell that the belt is much lower. If we look at Leonardo, you see the belt is kind of more towards the upper part of the shell, which is not really where the belt should go. But since it's like a shield, I kind of cut it some slack. but his is much closer to the bootay, as it were. And can the weapons fit into it? Let's see. If I stick it in like that, I do wish these had kind of more bespoke uh, sections to stick the weapons. But again, it seems like it's not going to fall out, so that's fine. It would probably be better if you could like tuck them into the front of the belt, though, the way that his sai are generally supposed to go in there. Speaking of his sai, let's go ahead and before we do anything else, see what he looks like when he's holding his sai. So there he is holding it by the handle. That looks pretty cool. But one thing I always like to do when I have a new Raphael figure is see how many different positions he can hold the sai in. So can we actually fit it in between his fingers, the way he's often seen as depicting holding a sai? Let's see. It does fit somewhat. It doesn't go in quite all the way, but I think it would stay in well enough that like a kid could play with them like that, and it looks really cool like that. Let's see if we can maybe have it at a slight angle again, like we see it sometimes. It doesn't quite work as well that way, I think, because the fingers are too. They're not really made to be specifically to hold sai. These are, I believe, the same hands that we've seen on all the other boys throughout this line. They do look identical to me, but he can hold them pretty well, so that's cool. That'll be good to see during the thumbnail. And then, of course, the snake accessory, the snake claw thing, and it fits over his hand fairly well. So there we go. That's a nice homage to the 2000X He-Man that this is based off of. And can we fit the claw onto his? It doesn't look like it's going to fit back there. I was kind of hoping maybe we could fit the claw onto this thing in the back so we could store it a little more. And of course, the shell comes off, so that's another accessory for us that acts as a shield. And if you want to hear my explanation as to why the turtles have removable shields in this reality, again, that explanation is in the Donatello review, so that's probably worth checking out if you're interested in hearing my opinion on that. And it seems like this one, the handle isn't quite fitting onto his hand as well as the other handles. I don't think it's quite as big. There's not quite as much room to fit the hand in there, but there he is holding it as a shield. And also, I notice on this one, Raphael has removable bracers. Like I'll show you. If we take off his hand, this bracer is actually a separate piece that comes off. So that's unusual. You don't usually see that on Origins figures. But it's nice because that does give you a little more display options, and it gives you more parts for customizing, which of course I enjoy. So let's go ahead and get this shield off of his hand. And while I had a hard time getting it on, now I'm having a hard time getting it off. You know what? The hand just came off. The hand comes off more easily than the shield comes out of the hand. So I'm probably not going to do this with Raphael that often. I don't think this shield works as well. I don't think that this shell works as well as a shield as the other ones do. So while they did redesign it to look more like a turtle shell with the belt in the proper place, and that's a good thing, it works not quite as well as a shield. So that's a bad thing. So I guess it's kind of a trade-off. Johnny Ma says, Modulok Muckman crossover would be cool. That would be awesome. I would really enjoy seeing that. All right, so it looks like this armor, I believe it's removable, but it looks like it kind of slips over him. It doesn't look like it actually opens up. So let's take his arms off. Since this is an Origins figure that all the pieces come apart, pop off his head. And this do-rag, like I said, it's like the other Ninja Turtles figures with the red plastic as a separate piece, and it's even sculpted in there. So I couldn't even like sand it down or anything or strip off the paint. That would not be the way to fix that. So I guess it's stuck like that unless I sand it down and then paint it. Like it'd be a lot of work. So it looks like if we take the whole thing apart, then you can pull the armor um armor out that way. And he's got that vestigial shell on the back like I was talking about. And this armor is a separate piece. So if you wanted to use these parts to customize like a new version of Snake Armor He-Man, you could. This belt is removable and does have like a little bit of tassel hanging down from it, but it's not all colored the same. And then he's got brown trunks, same color brown as the shell. By the way, this shell is the darker brown shell. I think it's the same color, pretty much. It's a little darker even than Michelangelo's actually. So my Leonardo and Donatello seem to have the same color shell, but Raphael and Michelangelo each have unique color shells. And we can see he's got the standard He-Man trunks underneath in dark brown with a red belt. So let's go ahead and put them back together. So yeah, you could customize this to make a Snake Armor He-Man if you'd rather use this one. I don't think it actually made a Snake Armor He-Man, but if you wanted to do this version of the Snake Armor on He-Man, it could work. Now, there are a few things that I think makes the Snake Armor work better on this figure than it has previously, at least in my eyes. It looks better to me. And you might disagree with me. You might really like the 2000X Snake Armor, but I've never really been that big of a fan of it because I honestly kind of felt like it having this whole open shoulder makes it look kind of prom dressy, and I didn't really care for that. And I just like my old school He-Man. I like He-Man to just be the old school barbarian character. I don't need him to have some kind of weird armor. I don't need him to be a sci-fi character. I just want him to be a guy in furry shorts and a big axe and a big sword and that guy. So one thing that they did that I think makes this work better is that since he is an inhuman skin color, he's green rather than being, any kind of skin color than an actual human is. At least I haven't met any green humans yet. Uh, to me, it just kind of works better insofar as like having parts covered and parts not covered. It just kind of all kind of works together better in a little ways. And I think also it kind of helps a little bit that like his tummy is exposed. You can kind of see the abs there, and that kind of puts a little more color balance off of the silver of it and a little more onto the it makes it look to me look more like an armor piece rather than that kind of prom dress sort of look that I don't really like. So I do think that this armor works better on this figure than it has on any other figure that I've ever seen. So and then he's got the armor texture on down the thigh, and we can see that the shin is a reuse of the shin from Trapjaw and Mechaneck. It's that same sort of boot detailing, since I happen to have or not Mechaneck, Manny Faces, I meant to say. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can see it's the same boot as Manny Faces. But yeah, he's a pretty cool figure for the most part. And like I said, I think this one works a lot better, at least in my eyes, than the Ram Man type one. Although I might still wind up having to buy that one because I don't think that one has the do-rag. So if that one has the regular bandana, I'll be buying that. Shawnee Ma says, I don't collect these lines, but was blown away when I saw a video of Mattel creators showing and encouraging customizing their figures. Mixing and matching is so cool. I'm in. Well, yeah, that to me is one of the best things about Origins. It's a very customizer friendly line. I mean, like I've shown this one before many times on this channel because he just happens to be over at my table. But I made this Thunder Punch He-Man, and I thought he turned out pretty well. They actually made a Thunder Punch He-Man, but he's really hard to find for a good price. So I just made my own. It's not like it's that hard to make another variation on He-Man. Chanima says, I'm into the Motu Mega Constructs right now. Yeah, I like the Mega Constructs figures. Those are really cool. I've got a bunch of those. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. First off, I want to look at the bandana and the way that ties in the back, and that is indeed posable. You can indeed twist around the tassels of the bandana, and that's a good thing. I like that. They're not quite as long as the other boys. Like you can see Michelangelo's is really long. Donatello's is really long. Leonardo's are really long to the point where they drape over his shoulders, and I like that look. But Raphael, they decided to give him like really short tassels for whatever reason. Are they saving that much money on plastic? I have no idea. So he can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders, but on his right shoulder, he's got this pauldron that's attached to the armor. So it's going to kind of bump into that a little bit. He is unencumbered on the left arm, even though he does have another piece of shoulder armor strapped on there. But it doesn't interfere with that. Let's see if it interferes with moving up to the side. Not really. Not really. And this pauldron's flexible enough on this side that it doesn't interfere with that either. Raphael has a single joint of articulation at the elbow, and man, that hand comes out easily. That's the second time I've done that on this video. Well, be careful with those hands, folks. They don't stand that well on this guy. You know, have to push it in further. Maybe I didn't push it in far enough last time. All right, so he's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow. That's about how far it bends. Rotates all the way around. The wrists, which are very, very removable, as we've seen, those rotate all the way around. And they have a horizontal hinge, which moves back and forth, like so. And then rotates all the way around at the waist. Raphael can kick up about that far, which is not very far for a ninja, turtle, or otherwise. But Master Universe Origins are very muscle-bound figures. That's just how that's going to be. He can do the splits, no problem. So that's nice. Raphael has a single joint of articulation at the knee. Bends about that far, rotates all the way around. He does have a boot cut on both boots, which rotates all the way around, even though he's got two separate boots. I pointed out how he's got the Manny Faces Trapjaw type boot over here. Over here, he's got the standard He-Man boot. Neither one of which are really boots. This one's just kind of working as shin armor, and this one's just kind of working as wraps around the shin. But he's not actually wearing boots per se because he's got the typical bare Ninja Turtle feet, which on this foot can point down about that far. On this foot can point down a little farther. He's got slightly better articulation on the He-Man boot than the Manny Faces boot, which is to be expected. Foot goes up about that far on the left side and up about that far on the right side. And both these feet should rotate all the way around after that. Okay, so what do I think about this figure? I think this is a great figure. And it's got like very few flaws, most of which are nitpicks. I think one thing that would make this figure like a lot better is if you could store the sai on the front of the belt, like if they had little loops so that you could stick the sai on there, like the way you normally store Raphael's sai is little loops on the front of his belt. And I think that would have been much better than him just having the generic sort of slot on the back. If there's one complaint that I have about these Ninja Turtles figures in the Turtles of Grayskull line, it's in general, it's that I wish that they had their bespoke weapon storage accoutrements. If it would be much better if I could store both of Michelangelo's nunchucks, for example, in two regular nunchuck holsters. I don't even know what you call that. Nunchuck sheaths. I don't know. It's a sheath for a sword. It's a sheath for a sai, I suppose, since those are bladed weapons. What do you call it? Is it a holster, holder, strap? I don't know what you call it for a bow staff. But yeah, I'd like it much better if the Turtles had their typical methods of storing their accessories, I think that would be better. The Psy are definitely better on this version than what came with the Ram Man type figure, the first Turtles of Grayskull Raphael. And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to have this one. And I was really impressed when I saw him. And it is cool that he can hold the Psy in multiple different ways, which is something that like I kind of feel like the original Playmates figure lacked in that regard. Like I kind of was disappointed that he could just only hold them by the handle in like a pretty typical way. But later ones have gotten better about giving us multiple positions that he can hold the Psy in, and I think that that is definitely a better way to go as far as our rude, crude turtle dude. Like you can get a lot of really cool poses with the Psy and everything. So that's awesome. I love that. Uh, I don't know what my favorite. Well, Raphael is easily my favorite Ninja Turtle. I don't know what my favorite Ninja Turtle figure out of the four that I have so far is, because while Raphael is really awesome, the Leonardo figure is also really awesome. And I kind of feel like Leonardo has the edge as far as like display options, because as you can see, I wound up taking the stealth ninja stuff off of him and just having him be more of like a basic Leonardo, and I think he works really well that way. But he also looks really cool with the stealth ninja accessories on him, making him more stealthy, obviously. And Raphael doesn't really have that option. Like you can't take the armor off of his arms and legs. That's like molded to the figure. That's stuck on there permanently. And even if you could, if you took off the breastplate, well, then there's nothing else to attach the shell to. So that's a little disappointing. You can't put Raphael back into, what I'm saying is you can't put him back into being like a default looking Ninja Turtle. He's all this Raphael figure in the snake armor has always got to be a Raphael in the snake armor. The good news is Raphael actually looks really cool in the snake armor, and it makes for a really cool variant. I like that it's a design that kind of just works well for the character, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So so yeah, it's a tough call for me to say which one is my favorite of these turtle figures, but they're all pretty great. Like I would definitely recommend picking them up if you're fans of the characters. And like I said, from what I understand, the second Donatello they put out, I guess it'd be the Reptile War Donatello. Uh, that's what it'd be called. Really cool figure, and I think is probably actually like better than the one that I have from what I've seen and heard. But that doesn't mean he's a bad figure either. And I think, at least for me, it was definitely worth picking up that one. And when I do get the later one, I can mix and match the pieces and come up with the best possible Masters of the Universe style Donatello that I can come up with. But I think this Raphael is really cool but rude, and and I'm fine with him being my definitive Turtles of Grayskull Raphael. I don't really need to take the snake armor off of him. I think the snake armor works really well on him, which, like I said, it's kind of ironic because I wasn't originally a fan of the snake armor, but I think this version of it finally sold me on it. Maybe if I can get a second version of this, I can swap some pieces around with a He-Man and make myself a snake armor He-Man that I'm actually happy with. But we'll just see what the future holds. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. This was my longest episode on one of the Ninja Turtles, mainly because I had that comic book to read. But at the same time, he is my favorite of the Ninja Turtle characters. So I kind of feel like Raphael, if I'm going to do one that's extra long, Raphael is going to be the one that I'm going to do. So I'll be back on the next episode. Next week, we're going to wrap up Turtles of Grayskull. And I think we'll be able to wrap up just Masters of the Universe in general, which has just become like a month-long thing. I mean, I did Black History Month and and then did a whole month of Masters Universe in March, and now I've done a whole month of Masters Universe in April. But it was also Ninja Turtles, which, you know, if you're going to devote a month to Ninja Turtles, most of these figures have been Turtles of Grayskull. April is the month you want to do, right? You know, okay. So, and then once I'm finally done with all these Masters Universe figures, it's on to G.I. Joe. I haven't done G.I. Joe in a long time. I haven't done a G.I. Joe figure in months. And I know my G.I. Joe peeps are chomping at the bit. Like, when's he going to open up more G.I. Joe? I know there's been a lot more. When's he going to get to the Saw Viper or the Iron Grenadier? He hasn't opened up that one. When's he going to get to, you know, the Starduster that he promised us months ago? Well, Leatherneck, don't worry. They're coming. They'll be here probably. Like, if I don't start with G.I. Joe next week, it's going to be the week after next. We'll definitely have some G.I. Joe by then. And of course, I've got more DC stuff on the way because, like, you know, I got to open up me some Batman. I've got plenty of Batman stuff to open up. So, Chani Ma says, "Take care, Alan. Dude, I enjoyed the video." Well, thanks. I enjoyed having you along for the ride. So, always a pleasure to see you. All right. So, thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Raphael, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And if you've got any specific figures of our rude, crude party dude, he likes to party too. Maybe not as much as Michelangelo, but he still parties. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite Raphael action figures. Speaking of the Mega Constructs, that was one that they had the rights to Ninja Turtles for a while, and they did some really cool stuff. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.